Hello everyone. So I wanted to do a video covering Bernie Sanders dropping out of the Democratic primary. It's a very big change of game now because we're looking at Biden versus Trump. And it's just very kind of depressing. I feel like because I expected Bernie to stay in the race a little longer, and I understand he probably didn't want to waste people's money and donations, that kind of thing. He's a very honest person, so he doesn't want to be tricking people and that kind of thing. If he must have made an assessment that he just cannot be the nominee now. And so once it became clear that there was no path there, then he just kind of he said the campaign was over. But I would just say, there's roles it still could have played because in 2016 it was obviously a different race. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say it's exactly the same, but the point being, he in 2016 he stayed in longer, and that was helping put pressure on Hillary to go farther to the left. And came time for the convention, and they're making the platform. The Bernie advocates were the ones pushing progressive policies forward. I mean, it wasn't perfect, but all the good things that they got in there were because of Bernie's people. So I really think Bernie kind of gave up his leverage, and he gave up his leverage before he dropped out. Just to be clear, because I mean, he said on TV that Joe can beat Trump, and obviously it's if you're going to say that after you drop out, that's less controversial, I suppose. But it's when you're running against Joe Biden, and you're saying oh, well, it doesn't matter, Joe can beat Trump. That undercuts everything that you've kind of been saying. I mean, it's not like I'm saying I hate Bernie now all of a sudden. I think he just kind of has a personal relationship with Biden. He's known him for many years, so unfortunately, I mean, I feel like he should have been the kind of person that would put that aside and focus on the policy and be very down to the wire. So I know I've said this before many times, but when they went after Biden for being corrupt, Zephyr Teachout wrote the article in The Guardian, and then David Sirota was the campaign surrogate for Bernie, and then they were all kind of putting that out there, and then Bernie disavowed that and said that Biden wasn't corrupt. And so that that undercuts the policy of it, kind of, because it's you're kind of not acknowledging the problems within your own side of things. And it's you're not willing to call out corruption when you see it. And if you can only talk about it in this broad way, then I think people are going to start to kind of look at Bernie not with as much rose-tinted glasses anymore. I think they're going to kind of look at him as a little bit more of a political calculator. And that's, honestly, I agree with that to a degree, because in 2020, it seemed to me Bernie was more play along to get along. He was not as aggressive at attacking the Democratic establishment, I feel like, as he was in 2016. So that was a big problem. Another big problem was after Super Tuesday, it became clear, like I was saying, he should have been attacking Biden, but especially after Super Tuesday, because it was Bernie versus Biden at that point. So he needed to switch up his game. He should have started calling himself a moderate in terms of the people. In terms of I am with the majority of the people when you look at the polls on Medicare for all, across many different issues. So he should have been making the argument that I'm the safer choice, and make that comparison to 2016 and say that Biden is just like Hillary Clinton. I mean, it's really so clear to me. I don't see why anyone would think this is any different than 2016, but it is. And people just have their head in the sand, I guess. It's even worse than 2016 in my view. So he should have established himself as the moderate and a populist for the people. and I think like when he was saying like a democratic socialist, like it it was enough to take away from the percentage of voters that he was lacking with, like older people that were like older, like it had to be like over 50, like that, like people over 50. He was really not doing well with those groups, and those people were pretty decisive in terms of this primary. That they went out for Biden in droves, and a lot of it was after South Carolina and all the dropouts and endorsements of Biden from people. So, um, yeah, it was like that they were starting to shape what was happening, and then the pandemic happened, and then that just kind of pulled the rug out from everything because Bernie, there's no really effective way for him to campaign in this crisis. I think, it's like you can do all the phone banking in the world, but I think going door to door is kind of more effective, and you can't have campaign events. These are very important things, and it's just impossible, I think, for Bernie to campaign in this environment, and I think that weighed on his decision to drop out. I totally think so. I think if you didn't have the coronavirus pandemic, he would still be in the race right now, for sure. Like if everything in the primary was still the same, like he there is a path for victory in terms of the delegates. Like there's enough delegates, but they're delaying the primaries, and there's just not a lot he can do to try and strengthen his support. I feel like it's a little bit like too late now. It's too little, too late, because it's just like once it came to South Carolina Super Tuesday, it became clear that he was not winning over the groups like the demographics, like I said before, that went out for Biden. So he had to be kind of making a lot of these points that I'm saying earlier on to kind of establish that impact. But okay, so I want to go back to Biden because this is what we're going to be freaking dealing with now. Um, it's not going to be enough. I already know that they're going to totally say that he's like, oh, he's doing so much to reach out to Bernie voters. Like, come in a few months, people will be like, oh, wow, look what he's doing. And then, like, Bernie's probably going to endorse him and then do some campaign events for him. So, but then, it's all going to come crashing down because I think he's going to lose. And then the left gets blamed. Bernie gets the blame. The burners, the Bernie voters get the blame. Even though, historically speaking, it's like they talk about Bernie voters like it's like such a unique thing, but 12% of Bernie voters in 2016 went to Trump. But in 2008, it was like 28 or 24, I think, percent of Clinton to McCain people in 2008. So this idea that it's like so unique to Bernie to be like, oh, like, well, now I'm gonna go for Trump. Now I'm gonna go for like the right winger. Like, people wanted to shake up the establishment very much so. I think in 2016, and then they took a chance with Trump. So the stakes are higher now, and that's kind of affected the race too. Like Trump is president now, so people are able to see what that's like. And so it's it's a little bit less of a question in terms of like a centrist versus Trump. It's like, oh, well, maybe people will actually prefer the centrist now. They see all the horrible things happening. And yeah, I mean, like the coronavirus has affected even, very pro-Trump people, like that guy, Mike Francesa. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his name, but he's like a right-wing radio host, and he's like very pro-Trump, and then he just turned on him because of his response to this coronavirus pandemic. But anyway, so I want to talk about Biden. Like, it's not going to be enough because he's just doing the not even bare minimum stuff to try and reach out to Bernie voters. And when it comes to Medicare, he's saying lower the age to 60. Hillary's proposal was lowered to 50 or 55. He should be in favor of Medicare for all. it's ridiculous because if the Democratic Party at large had any conviction, it would be fighting for Medicare for all right now during this pandemic when people are losing their employer-based insurance. Um, it's a crisis, and we have to be saying like, yeah, if we had Medicare for all, like everyone would be covered, and you wouldn't have to worry about like not having access to healthcare. So, but they just don't do. They're like, oh, okay, we'll make the coronavirus treatment free, and some people like, oh, the testing and the treatment. I'm sorry, but it's like, wow, that's such a big move, Kamala Harris. But anyways, Joe and his campaign need to be reaching out to the young people. I mean, like Bernie's voters are mostly young people, and they act like it's like, oh, our vote is so important in the general. Like we have to come out for Biden because Trump is gonna win if we don't come out for Biden. So like our vote is so important, but they don't want to do anything to get young people excited to vote. It makes literally no sense. If you want young people to come out, then you've got to give us some reason. I mean, like because it's all about being anti-Trump, and it's like there's no identity. I said identity because like I'm thinking of identity politics, but I mean like there's no like ideology. There's no vision behind Joe Biden. I have no idea. Like I know what Joe Biden has done in his past. I know what kind of politician he is, and he's a neoliberal. He's not going to fight for the things that Bernie is fighting for. He's going to fight. He freaking said. He said that if Medicare for all passes Congress, he's going to veto it. I mean, that is the most politically inept thing I've ever heard in my life. It's ridiculous to think that it because Medicare for all getting through Congress would be a milestone. I mean, I'm assuming you'd have a supermajority Democrat Senate and House because like you're not going to get any Republican votes, I guess, on that. Maybe like one or two or something, but like to say that, Joe Biden, you are spitting in the face of so many people. So many people who can't afford their health care and are going to die because they can't afford it. It's like 45,000 every year that die because they can't afford health care. So that is ridiculous. I can't even fathom someone being that dumb. I don't think Hillary Clinton would ever say that. I mean, maybe now she would. I don't know, but she did fight for single payer at one time in her life. So nothing has changed since 2016. Nothing in my equation of like what to do. Maybe a little bit because I'm just tired of this lesser evilism game. I really am, because like the thinking was after 2016 happened and Trump is president, like that was supposed to be a wake up call to the Democratic Party and say, oh, we have to go a little bit more. They did go a little to the left. It's like, but we needed to go more. Like they needed to be stronger. It's hardly even about being far left, to be honest. It's just about fighting on certain issues, because like Medicare for all is not a far left idea at all. It's been around for decades, and every other country has this. Is every other country a far left country? Like it's bizarre. So, like I'm saying, like it's not about being the most far left. It's just about fighting for the people, and you can frame these things however you want. But yeah, nothing has changed. Just like the lesser evil thing. What I'm saying is, I don't like. I'm not gonna fight for a Democratic Party that's not worth fighting for. I'm not doing that anymore. They gotta learn, and you know. Sam Cedar on Majority Report was saying it's like yeah, like the Democratic Party is not a person, it's an amalgamation of people. There's no they, like they all have kind of different agendas. I don't know about like them having different agendas. Like the people in power seem to have more or less the same agenda. Like listen, I don't know of like any progressives that hold like real, wheels of power here. It's like you have some people in Congress, but regardless, okay, it's like I want to push back on this idea just because like when you break it down, like we know the general idea of what we have to do. We, we know what will attract Bernie voters, and it becomes tricky because it's like you have to argue for it effectively. And will people believe that Joe Biden is going to fight for any left wing ideas that he says he will fight for? Um, you know, he has cognitive decline. He's not going to be able to argue this effectively. I mean, like this is a complete perfect storm scenario to me. There's just no real hope that I can see, except for maybe there was like when people didn't vote for Hillary as much as was needed for her to win. Um, that was due to like a real disdain for Hillary and sexism and misogyny in the country. Like this is the best case scenario for Biden. I mean, like I really think it's that. Unless he can really surprise me here and like pick a good VP, this is worse than 2016. I'm sorry, like it's ridiculous. And so I think that we have to threaten the Democratic Party with our vote. But the problem is it can't just be an empty threat. They have to believe that people are not going to come out to vote for them if they don't concede on a lot of issues. Kyle Kalinske on Secular Talk was saying like his purity test, if you will, is like you have to fight for at least one or two like progressive ideas, and short of that, you can pick Bernie or Nina Turner for VP. And so he can maybe co-opt some progressive issues that he could possibly do. And again, it's going to depend on how convincing he is to people, because saying the words is just not enough anymore. I'm sorry. Like you got to be much sharper now. And I mean, they're gonna have to like pump him up with adrenaline every night, Biden, when he goes on stage or something. Like it's ridiculous. I don't see an outcome where this ends well. To be honest, I feel like we're gonna get 4 more years of Trump. That is what my gut's telling me. However, there's a lot of factors to take into account here. The handling of the coronavirus pandemic, and also it's not really over yet. The economy grinding to a halt is going to hurt the economy in the long term. So I think you might see a lot of those impacts later in the year. And so if it's going to really, really hurt the economy, then people might be like, oh, well, Trump's not doing good, so I'm going to go for Biden. Excuse me. So yeah, it's just he's going to have to eke it out, and that's what I thought was going to happen with Hillary. Like when I was going into 2016, I thought that she was going to win, but I didn't. Like I thought it was going to be really close, and it was a pretty close vote. But yeah, like I thought she would be able to eke it out, but she couldn't because of 4 Rust Belt states. I mean, it was like she won Minnesota or Wisconsin. I think it was Minnesota that she won. So yeah, like those key things. So maybe Biden could get those Rust Belt states back. It's possible, but I mean he freaking has to win. But again, this is just like 2016. Biden is staying out of the public spotlight. Hillary, when this is so bad, Hillary was staying out of the public spotlight because they realized like her poll numbers go down when she's like speaking, when she's out in the public. And Biden, he's not able to be coherent. So it's just not good. I wish I could like end this video on a hopeful note, but I don't think it's going to be very hopeful in the coming months. This pandemic is still happening, of course. We don't know what will happen with the economy. It really is what we need to do is start reorienting ourselves. And this is why I'm saying like I think we need to start thinking a little bit outside of the realm of electoral politics. It might be, a bridge too far for some people to say this, but I think that, you know, if we have Biden win, it's like I want him to win. I want there to be a minimization of harm for people like immigrants that are locked away in cages. Like I it's not like I want any harm on them. I want that to stop. Um, but when I'm talking about the grand scheme of things, meaning the planet, like in climate change, 4 more years of Trump is going to be less harmful in my calculation. I mean, I know that might be a hot take to some people, but Biden is not going to do enough to curb climate change. He's like, he'll take some moderate steps, I'm sure, and that's better than nothing. But we're going to be dilly dallying the whole time. The point is, it's going to make change slower. So 4 more years of Trump might be the shock to the system that it needs. And I know that this is kind of what was being said in 2016. Susan Sarandon was saying, oh, well, then the revolution will come once Trump is president. It's 4 years and it hasn't happened yet. But look, I think it's like a little bit of a ticking time bomb. It's like it's going to happen. People, when it gets to a boiling point, people are not going to be happy and they're going to revolt. And it's like, I understand why. This system is broken by all stretches of the imagination here. I mean, like, to be in the situation that we're in now, where there's, like, no economy, basically, like, 16 million people unemployed, this is not something that needs to be preserved in my mind. So I'm not sure what the word is, but it's like we can keep good things about the system that we have. It's like I'm not saying like we have to just start from scratch and do everything new, but we've got to do basically like a moratorium, or I don't even know if that's the right word, but just like look at the system that we have now. It's like what is good we keep, and everything else we can change. It's really a matter of priorities. Like I've always said, we prioritize too much on the private market side, and what's happening with this pandemic. Companies with the stimulus bill that passed, they're going to get bailout money, and it's going to be no strings attached. And so it's like they get the money, the employees are laid off, and let's say the economy doesn't do so well. This is all the flip of a coin stuff. It's like the economy is not stable. It's certainly not stable now. So to act like that this is going to continue, like the normalcy that we experience now is going to continue forever, is nonsense. And that's why like Biden's whole tone is like, let's return to normal. This is ridiculous. It's not going to win. People need a new vision of the country. Okay? So that's basically the simplest way I could put it. Like I arrived there finally at the point, but it's like Biden needs to offer a new vision of the country, and it can't be this return to normalcy garbage. It's not going to work. So I guess I'll conclude there. Like I still am gonna vote for Bernie. They say that he's on the ballot in all the upcoming states. It's like I don't see what the point is, honestly. It's like now that he's dropped out, it's like that's gonna depress the people that come out to vote for him. But yeah, it's like I'm sure some people will still come out, and I'll be one of them. Come time for the general, look. I'm just gonna put it out there. Like Biden can earn my vote. It's like completely not impossible here. It's like he can do this. I voted for Hillary for the Supreme Court, and because like I thought Trump, I thought he would be. I'm sorry, like Clinton was going to be better on climate change, and like she wouldn't have taken us out of the Iran deal as another example. But okay, so she was going to be marginally better. Right now, I'm having trouble wrapping my head around voting for Biden because it really is like, look, if the Democratic Party is not going to learn the lesson, and I know they're not a monolith. Um, look, there needs to be uh, a more concrete vision and more concrete goals that we have to attain. It can't be this, broad strokes. Like, I don't know, like enough of this big tent party crap. I mean, like big tent. Okay, like it's kind of hard to parse this out here, but my point being, we have to focus on the the popular issues, kind of like what Secular Talk was saying. It's like we like the bread and butter economic issues in his like recent live stream. We need to just make it simple for people. It looks all over the place, So we need to start going back to basics, going to what's popular, and it's like this is I think we need kind of an old school Democratic Party to a degree, like when they were more pro labor, that used to be a thing, but now it's become more corporate. Um, they're basically like they try and meet the Republicans halfway. The Republicans are like far right fascists right now, so when they try to meet the Republicans halfway, they're like the Republicans from 20 years ago. So look, I think there needs to be a reckoning. I really do, and it's like, look, if it was supposed to happen in 2016 and it didn't happen, that doesn't mean it can't happen. In my view, it's like I get that certain people are not going to change, and that's ultimately it's like the people that are in the positions of power, like we're not gonna change their mind. I get that, so they need to go. They need to be humiliated, and their career needs to end. Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Tom Perez in the DNC, Joe Biden, like they all need to. It's done. We're bringing in a new generation of people now, and it needs to be much more politically calculated going forward. It needs to be the problem. Another problem that Bernie had was it was a little bit too much of a broken record, to be honest. It's like we all knew what he stood for. We all knew what he was saying in terms of like what his policies will do, and it's all true. It's all based on fact. But the problem with him was that he was not adjusting, like when it was him versus Biden, he was not adjusting his talking points in a way that made him seem more electable, more of the safe choice. So it's not enough just to kind of say the policies, say what they'll do, and all that kind of thing. Like you have to say how it's going to change people's lives. Like you've got to. You've got to also, yeah, like attack the establishment more. Like people don't like to talk negative. I guess that's why they don't do like attacks as much. Like, and Bernie's like a very nice guy, so I feel like that's also why. But you've got to get at the root of the problems, and it's just got to be very direct and no bullshit. That's really what I think. No malarkey. But Biden is not gonna do well, in my view. I wish I had a better note to end on, but I don't think it's there.